Okay, we should be streaming. Only like 30 minutes late. Just have to put some nice, quiet anime music on while we wait for chat. And of course, I was in such a hurry, I forgot to promote it. Alright, OBS. Yeah, it says we are streaming. Okay, let's see if anyone's fast enough to get in here without us. But we know we gotta promote this thing anyway. What is up, Derp Lord? Just sending out the very late, as always, message for everybody. No worries. I was having so many technical troubles today. My God, yeah, it was a little ridiculous. Hopefully I'm coming through and everything is audible. I'll mute myself in a second so we can hear everything. Okay, we did Discord, we did the Facebook. Let's do Twitter. What is going on, Zero? Good to hear on the feedback. Thank you, Dark Lord. Okay, I've done my due diligence. The show is starting. It's already started, so apologies for the slowness here. Let me mute myself really quick so I can hear what I sound like. Okay, well, besides having our copyright music blaring at full volume, we are golden, so let me put on something a little more subdued. And we can get started, but before we get too deep into this, everyone doing good? Everyone having a good time? Hopefully. Alright, hopefully this doesn't make anybody go to sleep, but hey, we got some background music for us. And let's remember to record this locally. So we are... yeah, YouTube FBI is definitely going to get us. Zero, sorry to hear that. Any particular reason if you feel like sharing? If not, I also completely understand that. Derp Lord, good to hear that you are having a pretty good day. Alright, let's get started. Because I'm going to have a lot of thoughts about this. Let's get a drinky drink of the water. Sorry, no fancier background. I tried doing my little virtual background, but everything was coming together so hilariously. slow, so I figured you guys could enjoy the clean, minimal background as opposed to all my game shelves. Alright. We're going to do a full start. If we get too crazy or if I need too much motivation, here's my horrible energy drink for the choice. Alright, phone is on hush-hush mode. We are ready to get started. People will hypothetically join us in chat, and I have chat pulled up. Okay, we are looking good. Let us get started. How's it going, everybody, and welcome to Shin Megami Tensei Network Link 184. I'm your host, Spencer Presley, and joining me is me and whoever else feels like joining us in this week's live stream, and that is because this is a bit of a weird episode, and when I mean a weird episode, this is going to be a review discussion with basically myself venting to all of you listening and watching. Also, Mirth just popped in the chat. No, Mirth, you did not miss anything. We literally just started, so your timing is perfect. Yeah, so as we mentioned in last week's episode of the podcast, the Persona 5 animation dub had been officially released by Funimation through their streaming service, and I have literally just before finishing this podcast finished. I've been taking notes before everything had happened, and I have a lot of thoughts. Now, just a little bit of context for anyone out there who doesn't know. My history with the Persona 5 anime is such. I was aware of it when it was going on. I was kind of in a bit of a hiatus in terms of covering everything religiously. I never watched the Japanese version. I never followed it. I knew the reception was pretty poor, but that was about it. So besides that, though, I pretty much was like, okay, I'm in no hurry to watch this. The series has absolutely no fanfare. There's no dub. I have zero motivation to watch this. And then in July, Aniplex USA announced that they were releasing it in a $300 box set in September. So that put me in a bit of a weird situation of like, okay, well, it's interesting they're dubbing this, but the problem is that price and this series' reputation doesn't really justify that, even with me covering it for this podcast, or even just anyone as a human being in general. That price is hard to justify. So, thankfully, the gods at Funimation decided to basically drop it over a month early, let us all stream the hell out of it, Japanese or in English dub. And I'm really glad that they did. I mean, obviously it saved me a ton of money and let me talk about it a whole month sooner without even needing like a review code or anything. But I have so many more mixed emotions than I thought. Because like I said, the only thing I knew about it before was, okay, the animation is bad, it has bad quality, and for the most part there's no reason to watch it. Now, my total boilerplate, just straight up quick review, if I have to. Obviously, it's going to be a very, very long review either way, but my thing is this, like, in this year alone, I have played through all of Persona 5 Vanilla, all of Persona 5 Royal. I have started a very decent chunk, all 3 English volumes so far, of Persona 5 the manga. And now, and I guess if we're going to count Scramble, but just in terms of this story, we're not going to count Scramble for this one. But I've already experienced this story 3 other times in very superior ways compared to this anime. And what's so funny is the whole time I was watching this, I was continuously bewildered at their choices, upset at how half-assed so many aspects of the actual show were, but then there were a couple of weird things that stood out of like, I'm glad I watched it for a few aspects. Number one, and this is a very, I don't know if bias is the right word, but this is just kind of a very specific to me thing. I am glad that this anime exists, if not for the fact that this is the most digestible version of the story my fiance is ever going to get to experience. And I mean that in the sense of like, she's not like she doesn't find the world of Persona interesting. Just video games in general aren't always super her thing, let alone RPGs. So I wanted her to sit down with me, kind of just like watch it, get a second pair of eyes, so I could kind of be like, basically it's like those moments of like when you're watching something with someone, you can turn to them and be like, do you see this shit? There were a lot of moments of this show, especially like screenshots of just like certain animation errors. Like the amount of times I would be watching the show with her and we would both just be like, look at their face. Look at their face at the back. They're so bad. Their face look like no detail at all. It's so weird. So besides that though, it was really interesting like watching her kind of curiosity for the show have its ups and downs, and like by the end of the show it was so interesting to see how invested she was in it. Like by the time what was it, by the time that Akechi reveals himself and what you think is the bad ending ends out, she was like genuinely pissed. Like she was genuinely pissed that was going to be an outcome, and I thought that was like, oh, that's like so cool to like see, because like she has no idea what really happens in the game for the most part. So I thought that was a really interesting aspect that I was able to watch with her, and I enjoyed that. On top of that, and this one's probably the most apparent to everyone else watching this, they had so much fun recording the English dub of this. You can tell if you're the main cast, like there are so many funny memories and so many little funny goofs and gaffes like that happen. I've made so many little video recordings. Like for the most part, I am laughing with the show and not at it, which I was really worried it was going to be the other way around. As if you guys remember, when the show starts, it does not make a good first impression. Like the first 4 or 5 episodes, I would say almost all the way up until you meet basically anything after the first palace, it kind of gets a little more evened out. But sound design wise, like it's like there was a different audio director for every episode. It was so weird and uneven. It was just very messy, very like uneven, and made me genuinely not excited to keep watching the show, because like they were just ruining tiny things. Like they were having they were not having dubs. They were having sound mixing problems with the shadows. Like Kamoshida's shadows sounded different almost every episode he was in for the first 5. And just little things like that were really just kind of like hard to not get turned off by, especially if you've played hours and hours and hours of these games, or you know what these characters sound like. And this wasn't an issue with the Japanese one. This was like specifically an issue with the production, or maybe just whoever the voice directors were. And this is so weird because the voice acting was all done through PCB, who had done every other bit of Atlas voiceover work for all their games and stuff like that, like for SMT and other Persona games. So that was really, really disappointing to see how messy it is in the beginning, but it does even out. Kind of going back into reviewing it though, of like, yeah, it was fun watching like Max Middleton or Matthew Mercer being a goofball, but there are also things that never run away, like in terms of feelings in the back of my head. Like a big one that we talked about last week was this. I don't know what they were thinking, and I don't know if this is mimicked in the Japanese version of the show at all. Ren is just so boring. Ren is just the whitest, boringest piece of stale bread possible. His personality is so uneven. He goes from acting like the quiet leader to sometimes trying to sound heroic, or I hope he thinks he's sounding badass, and it's just so disheartening, because it's like you look at stuff like the Persona 3 and the Persona 4 animations, how they take their silent protagonists, or even look at what the other Persona 5 spin-offs have done in terms of giving Joker a personality to work with. Like, just look at Joker in Smash Brothers. He has more vibrancy and personality with his performance than this entire 28-episode anime arc. And it's like, what's happening? Like, Xander sounds like a different person depending on the scene. And, like, I know it's him the whole series, but my first impression, I remember, was the clip from the haunted house of him sneaking up behind the person in the haunted house and just having that really quick, show me your true form. And then he'll have moments of just like, okay, alright. And he's just so... You never get enough moments to really know who he is, and it's just kind of... I don't know, like, maybe whoever was the voice director in this thought, okay, we're taking a character from a RPG that lets you pick many options and choices, so clearly what we should do is make him as kind of jack of all trades as possible. But what happened is they just ended up making the main protagonist and leader of this whole show the worst Phantom Thief. Easily. Like, before I would say personally, and this is nothing against the character, like, I would say maybe like Morgana and An were like the weak links for me. I guess also kind of up there with Futaba of like, they're very kind of one-hit ponies after their palace. Morgana doesn't even really get that excuse, but that's a deeper problem with the character. And all of those characters have so many more like scenes that shine compared to Xander with Ren. It's just super disappointing, especially when you see like how much fun all these other characters are having and other things like that. Let me see. Besides that, like, I'm trying to think of big complaints without kind of getting into more breakdown things. So one of the hard things when it comes to critiquing this anime for me is critiquing it as an adaptation and not just critiquing the story of Persona 5. And what I mean when I say that is there are problems in Persona 5 that they would have had to take a lot of liberties to fix. Like, there are a very small handful of changes that I can think of in this show that they skip over, that I'm like, okay, good. Like, they didn't need to include this, I'm glad they skipped over it. A good example is the fetch quest in Shido's palace, when they have to go to all of the different people, get approvals, fight the bosses and whatnot. They give a kind of montage-ish version of it where it still gives you the gist of Haru's moment talking about that, and Futaba talking with the person behind the Medjet attacks, of like, okay, you get it, but like there's not the whole setup punchline boss fight repeat, which I absolutely hated from his palace. Like, Shido's palace is one of the worst in the whole games, just because it is a giant fetch quest strapped into a joke that is repeated 5 to 6 times and never gets fun. Like, the only good part about Shido's palace is basically, I like the music, the puzzles are hilariously too long, and the final boss fight is basically just Metal Gear Revengeance on a budget, so, I mean, I was into that. But yeah, like, and other things that kind of ruin it, though, of like, its pacing is so off. And Mirth in the chat as well as the Discord brought up a great point when he was watching through the whole show, is that they're so uneven. Like, you'll go through an entire palace in an episode, and they'll give more attention and discussion, and basically, like, the quieter moments of a great scene is the hot pot scene, where they're celebrating Yusuke joining the Phantom Thieves. That scene is still elaborated upon. It lets everyone kind of digest, get to know each other, get everyone caught up into the same page, and it's such a great moment, not only in the game, but also in the show. A problem with that is, not in that scene specifically, but the show is clearly made by a studio who is not okay at making an action-heavy show. And they are very aware of it. If you watch this, I've never seen anything. I looked at other animation works Clover has done. Nothing really kind of stood out to be as sort of action-heavy as P5A. And you can tell when you're watching it. The animation quality varies greatly through the entire experience of watching the show. The problem, though, when you get into it, is when you're watching those battles, especially in the beginning, oh my god, in the beginning it's bad. In the beginning of the show, you're basically watching JPEGs with special effects done in After Effects. done on top of each other. There's very little animation. What animation there is super minuscule. It's always close-up shot, attack animation, cut away to another person, attack animation. You will very rarely see reactions. Monsters basically dissolve. But, like, fights, whether it be with monsters or bosses, are just handled so poorly. One of the weird things I've never seen anyone else brought up with, and I think this is so weird, is the fact that all of the bosses, with the exception of Wakaba in Futaba's Palace, are literally straight up ripped from the PlayStation 3 assets. All of those 3D models are literally the same ones from the game, which it's like, hey, fine, like most Japanese animation studios are already not super great at working in 3D animation with 2D, and those assets, if you want them to look like the game, just rip them out from the game, why not? The problem with that is it's so jarring that I'm immediately aware. I'm not looking at this 3D render of Kamoshida and going, oh, that's weird that it's in 3D. No. It's weird that it's from the game. That, like, I can basically see the exact same 3D render model with these not as good-looking 2D drawn models, and that disconnect is so jarring through every boss fight, let alone with the fact of, like, some boss fights feel like they have to be over in 5 minutes, and then other boss fights feel like they have to be the whole episode. The boss fights in general are a pretty big letdown. The only ones that I kind of think of as positive standouts would have to be Wakaba's, just because they kind of give that one a little bit more credence in terms of how personal it is with Futaba. And my biggest one, and even though this is still not even that much praise, is the Kaneshiro boss fight. Just for the fact that that's the only episode they try and do the baton pass. There's zero explanation as to what's going on, but they at least try, so hey, there's something there. The way they implement aspects of the game, too, are very odd. Like, anything involving palaces is basically swept under the rug, and you have to assume that you played the game, or none of this is going to make any sense to you at all. So, that's disappointing in terms of it being an adaptation. You're not really helping anyone. But the social aspects of how they implement the game, I thought was actually, in the beginning, I thought was handled really well, and ironically, towards the end of the show, just kept getting me more mad. And the reason I say this is because they're using things like the map when they're going to new areas. They are going and having new locations to, like, hang out, like the school roof. The music is obviously matching with the game. Stuff like that works really, really well. But then there's other aspects, like, as we get later, of, like, why is any confidant a part of this anime? No confidant really matters because you wrap up everyone's social link story in an episode or two tops. Like, Sakura's whole confidant with Futaba's uncle is wrapped up in an episode. And even Futaba's, like, thing in general, like, everybody's confidant story is told so fast and at such a breakneck speed, you can't connect with anyone. And it's a bummer because I was never that bummed out at the palaces kind of being so rushed through, because it's like, okay, well, I like the social elements more, but as we start getting into, oh shit, we need to start ticking the confidant boxes, no one's confidant story was good to me. Ryuji's had not enough weight, really, of, like, you never felt like they were training. It always just kind of felt like, oh, I want to get back and be buddies with my friends again. I even think, like, little things, like, if they included the shot of if they included the shot of Ryuji punching Rin, it would have gone a long way. On story doesn't even go anywhere. I think they literally just started of, like, one of the other models says something and she's like, oh, hey, you're not taking this seriously, and then we never do anything with it again. Yusuke, actually, I will say, and we're just gonna go through this because why not? We'll see how much of them I actually remember. Yusuke's is handled well, and Makoto's is handled well, even though they are done fairly fast. Yusuke's is just good in terms of it gives you a little bit more into his character. It lets you emphasize a little bit more with Madarame, which the game very rarely ever did, showing that, yes, Madarame was a very flawed person, but he did have some sort of care, even if it wasn't for the right intentions, about Yusuke, in that paternal figure way. With Makoto... With Makoto, it was basically cut and dry from the game, but I at least enjoyed them kind of taking the time of like showing her going to new places and things like that. One of the weird ones, and this is a bit of a very odd complaint when you think of the fact that like I really like Akechi as a character. This show gives you no reason to like Akechi. And it's extra weird when you realize they shove him down your throat every episode. Even if it's just for a scene or two, they literally feel like there's an Akechi quota that they have to fill, who someone told them, hey guys, if we don't have Akechi in every episode, this show is going to go down the drain. It's like, I love Akechi, and Akechi works as a good character, but the more you have him in there, the less... it's like, the more he's in there, the more relevance he needs to have to the story. And unless you decide you want to implement his character in a different way to the game, you're just kind of having a weird one. And this is probably one of those things of, like, after coming off Royal, this adaptation's a lot harder to stomach because, obviously, they're not implementing things that happened in a game that came out after the fact. But, like... having him show up and their whole friendship just be, I'm going to be super gay in the coffee house, we're going to play chess a couple of times, and we're basically going to be rivals, it never felt as genuine to me, whereas in Royal it felt super earned. Like, them hanging out, them going and... whether it just be eating at a cafe, going to the jazz club, going to the hot springs... having that fight, like those moments really mattered, of not just showing them kind of playing cat and mouse with each other, of them actually having that moment of becoming rivals and you seeing it and you feeling it in front of them. I need to get myself a drinky drink really quick. I've never had that before. It's actually not bad. Alright, so let me check in with the chat real quick. Joey says, I feel like a lot of the anime just would not make any sense if you haven't played the game. Joey, I cannot agree enough. The anime feels like it's made for people who've played the game, and everyone else is gonna get it for the most part, but there are just aspects of the show that are like, why are you in here? You're not even explained at all. I don't know if this is my biggest complaint with the show. One of the biggest complaints I have... what the fuck were they doing with the Velvet Room? There's no point in ever having the Velvet Room. The Velvet Room is shown as basically this get-out-of-jail-free card, ironically, and Justine and Caroline and Igor have absolutely no personality. It's so underutilized, it's almost like they forgot it had to get into the show and they crammed it in there the last second. Like, they put more focus into justifying Akechi in every episode as opposed to the Velvet Room. And the Velvet Room at its core, even though I fundamentally think it's a terrible plotline, that is how you end that game. So by the time you finally get to the last episode of the series and you find out about the whole false Igor storyline, it's like, okay, cool. I've spent no time with any of these people. You've shown me to do, like, one summon. He's given me a card, like, once or twice. But Igor has just, like, no effect on the story, even more so than Vanilla P5, which is truly special. Whew, excuse me. Yeah, I was very disappointed with the entire use of the Velvet Room. I thought it was such a waste of time. It was such wasted potential. They never did anything fun with it. Justine and Caroline are possibly tied with Joker of having no personality. It was such a bummer. Let's check in with what Mirth says. Saying, yeah, they barely showed any palaces. He did like, though, how Yusuke was handled as well, but hated that they included Akechi to it randomly. Yeah, Akechi had to get tied into everyone, which was kind of disappointing, because, like, the whole thing... Obviously, I get it. It's like Joker can't do everything himself, but at the same time, they literally made Akechi seem like he could do anything, so then at that point, it's like, okay, well, why is Ren being attached to it if Akechi can do it all, but whatever. Mirth also says, I feel like this anime is fundamentally doesn't understand what Akechi's role is in the story. 100%. One of the biggest takeaways I could tell of why that was the case is look at the ending when the Phantom Thieves approval is getting brought up, and they try using the chess piece that Akechi threw back at Ren. And let me just tell you, after comparing that to the way the glove works in Royal, it just falls so flat. Like, that chess piece and him calling out to each other, like, that's not their arc. Like, their arc, according to the anime, is Akechi is a murdering psychopath, but he makes amends in the very last minute. Everyone forgives him, and he helps you push through at the end to defeat the Holy Grail, and I hate it. It's so stupid. It boils his character down to such a boilerplate caricature. If it wasn't for the fact that Robbie Damon is fucking yucking it up the whole time as him, it'd be like, boy, what a waste of a character. But going back to the dubbing, yeah, Robbie Damon slays it. Like, he kills it as that character so much. I remember when I first started playing Final Fantasy 15, I was like, whoa, Robbie Damon will forever be Prompto for me. Like, he just nails that character so well. I don't know how else he could ever kind of get out of that. And then now looking at it with, like, okay, yeah, he at least for me, I don't know, like, what other huge seminal roles he might ever have that would kind of surpass Akechi, especially just after playing Royal and everything, and even just his supplemental appearances. That's why, like, in retrospect, after enjoying Royal so much, I'm like, God, why did they screw Akechi over so bad in Persona 5 Dancing and only giving him one song? Okay. Let's check back in. Tuxedo Mask! Eric, you are a genius. Yes, Tuxedo Mask. No duh, yeah. I don't think he'll ever be as synonymous with Tuxedo Mask as, like, the original voice actor, whose name I'm totally forgetting. But yes, Eric, you're totally right. He's Tuxedo Mask. He's a very, very good Tuxedo Mask. Mirth also says, this is actually kind of funny. When I first watched the anime after playing Persona 5, I hated how they handled Akechi. It was such a 180. Imagine how I felt when I saw Royal was going a similar direction. Nothing against how Royal does it, but it looks bad from the outside perspective. I'm willing to see how Royal does it. Yes, Mirth, because, yeah, you've not played Royal. Royal looks like it does the anime aesthetic in terms of the storytelling, but it's like they got a competent writer to come in, so don't worry about that. Akechi is literally the best confidant. The best confidant in Royal, if not... I'm trying to think... Yeah... Maruki's second. I was trying to think if he surpassed it, but quality-wise, Akechi's just better through the whole thing. Maruki has some good moments, though. But we will not get into spoilers. At least for Royal. We don't need to. This is an anime spoiler cast. Let's see. So I've complained about the PS3 graphics. I complained about... Let's see, I complained about the Velvet Room just being a total joke, the characterization being really weird. What were they thinking with the ending? So if you look at how this is sold and then the box set, you'll notice 2 OVAs are missing. It is pitched as it's 26 episodes and 2 specials. The 2 specials are the ending. And to be even more problematic... The 2 specials are the last 2 palaces condensed into 50 minutes, and it's really bad. Like, not bad in terms of how it's handled, it's bad in terms of how horrifyingly rushed it all is. Like, yeah, this game will kind of go through a palace in one whole day, but, like, it's still, there's always like the kind of lead in. There's never like, okay, we met Makoto, we went to the palace, we beat Kaneshiro, and we got the treasure in an episode time span. Barely even 2. So to see them cram Shido's palace and the final depths and the mementos into one episode each, like, even though it's a 50-minute episode each, it's like, did they just run out of budget? Like, I had a moment when Sai's Palace is ending, and I'm looking at how many episodes are left with my fiance, and I'm just like, we're on the last episode. Like, he just got into the interrogation room, and we're in the last episode. It's like, what the hell is going on right now? It's so weird. The pacing is horrifying. The quality of the animation does get better as the show goes on, but, like, as much of a joke as the animation is, animation quality can come and go. The storytelling is really what matters. It's just so, like, disheartening to be like, did it just get rushed out? Because, like, I'm sure that this did not do well at the time. Like, I know there's a lot of merchandise that came out of Persona 5 the anime, but after watching it, I 100% see why people are so down on it. It's like, it is a bad adaptation, whether it be your first time or 500th time in the world. Its positives are so minor in the grand scale of all of its negatives. Like, one of the weird things, it's like, oh my god, yeah, Arblast, great point. What about the Persona 2nd Awakenings? They couldn't even cram that into the final boss fight. Like, the final boss fight going up to the Holy Grail, it is so amazing how they condensed this 20-hour... Now, listen, I hate the depths of mementos, from storytelling to palace design, but, like, they go from fusing... I guess not fusing, but they go back to basically revealing the true Igor, climbing up the tower, getting to the Holy Grail. All of that is done within 5 minutes. And it is, like, so weird. Like, they skip all of the archangels. They don't even have a second fight with the palace. They never cut off the ties to people. So, like, the whole Holy Grail thing is just not really ever delved into so much at all. Like, everything is so weirdly rushed. And even just the things of, like, ending the show, like, it never even explains to you why Ren's going back home. Like, in the game, they're basically like, hey, your probation's done, you're home free, don't you want to go back to your hometown? Whereas in this, all we get is a montage of him saying goodbye to everybody, and then in the car ride back, they're like, are you sure you want to go back? And he's like, yeah, I gotta talk to them. You have a phone! What do you, like, tell us why you're leaving all of your friends now. Like, it's so weird. It reminds me, like, I hate the ending of vanilla Persona 5. Not in terms of it upsets me on a personal level. It is a just lazy, bad ending to a video game. And remember, I'm saying vanilla Persona 5. I think the entire last part with Igor is just so stupid, so out of left field. No one is shocked by it. Nobody cares. The proper context of why it is shocking works on such a small percentage that, like, why did you even bring Igor back? The lack of Igor in the animation sticks out even more so. It just hurts every second I think about it. Joey says, Royal saved Akechi for me completely. He's one of my favorite characters because of it. Cannot agree more. Killamo says, yeah, I saw a clip where Joker beats Shido in like 3 minutes. Yeah, they make this multi-phase boss fights for all of these final characters just basically boiled down into, okay, we're going to do a couple of waves of attacks, and then we win. Like, the closest they ever get to losing is the first boss fight with Kamoshida. Kamoshida basically yeets his volleyball into their face so hard that you see the game over screen. Igor comes up to him and says, you gonna lose? And then he gives him another persona and it doesn't even matter. It's like the show had no consequences. Everything was super easy, and even though it's like an anime adaptation, it's like, I get it, but it's like, there's no stakes for anything. Like, I was aware that they didn't care about the battles because they couldn't animate to save their lives, but it was just so disappointing. Okay. We're kind of wrapping up here. And then we're going to get into any news or questions you guys might have. But if you guys have any other final takeaways for the Persona 5 anime, please let me know. Final takeaways: if you have a subscription to Funimation, or you decide to live your life and find this through other means, check it out. Stream it, whatever. I cannot stress enough how this is such a ripoff of a show to buy. Like, to put your money down and say, I need to buy this, this is just a bad product to support. This is the worst product of Persona 5 quality-wise I've ever done. No amount of English voiceover fun can save that, and that's not the voice actor's faults. It is just so outrageous to me that out of all the different myriad of ways you can experience or tell a story, that in the year 2020 a company thinks that they could charge even $100, I think is too much for this. So it's very, very weird. I would recommend someone buy a greatest hits copy of Persona 5 for $10 in the bargain bin over this. And it's a shame because there are good things. I like the new songs. Benjamin Franklin, you know he's got it. Benjamin Franklin's killing it on those new songs. He's got I think 5. He's got 5 new songs. He's killing it, doing a good job with Lynn. But the negatives will just continue to outweigh everything. Like Arblast says, the manga is such a better alternative as well, even if you don't have a thing for the games. Joey says, I missed the first 10 minutes of this, so I might have missed it, but Ren really sounded completely off to how he sounded in the dance games. Yeah, Joey, we were saying in the beginning of the show, Ren is the worst character in terms of personalization. He has no personality, no nothing. JJC Reviews, would you say this anime is for the Persona 5 Scramble Switch players who haven't played vanilla? No! Because even Persona 5 Scramble does a better job recapping the story in the first act than this does. It stretches everything out, it rushes through everything at the same time, and it always leaves me wanting more or scratching my head, unfortunately. So no, this is not how I would tell Switch players to experience that story. Technically, Scramble doesn't even need it. That story is so self-contained, and it's like, have you ever heard or seen of a group anime? Then you're fine. Mirth says, my verdict is I need a Ryuji compilation video to make rewatching it worth it. Yeah, that is true. Ryuji does do a great job of saving this show, but he can't save it enough to justify buying it. Like, the dub justifies watching it, paying for it is a whole nother thing, though. Derplord says, if you have the subscription to Funimation, go watch Persona 4 Gold in the animation. LMAO, they just added it. No, not the other day, Derplord. They added that today. Here, let's put up on my phone so I can show you guys. They just added Persona 4 Gold in the animation, and I could not be a bigger happy camper. Look at my queue right here. We have, focus in, Persona 5, and Persona 4 Gold in the animation. Yeah, it's the only thing that was really worth it, and I'm still gonna cancel my 2-week trial. Joey, yeah, if you've not seen, so here's the little positive recommendation. If you guys have not seen Persona 4 Gold in the animation, obviously I'm into it saying, hey, experience Persona 4 first, because it's not meant to tell you the story. It's meant to just be a fun, lighthearted series. What is up, Khalil? What is up, Killa? Killa, no. I collect a lot of stuff. I could not justify buying that Blu-ray unless it went on super big clearance. Yeah, that'd be tough, my man. Let's see though. Besides that, yes, please go watch Persona 4 Gold in the animation if you have a Funimation account. Make sure you've seen at least the original Persona 4 animation, or at the very least, played the games, just so you can have the context. I think that series gets a lot of crap. I think in retrospect, I was watching a couple episodes before this started, and even the Persona 4 Golden anime, at least for me, already did everything I wanted right. And there is a right way to do Persona 5 as an anime. Like, if you go and watch the Daybreakers, that is animated by the same company who did Golden. They know how to nail that tone of just living in that world, even if their choice of animating that story isn't taking it verbatim. And that's really what I liked about them the most, of like, Daybreakers is its own thing. It's taking a slice out of basically what the Mementos Mission manga would be like. But yeah, Golden, check it out. It's not that long of a series. I think it's fun. Golden's biggest crime to me has just been the fact that it was only ever done in Japanese. There's no English dub yet. Khalil says, rumored direct on Friday, hoping for Scramble. I'll be honest. If Scramble gets revealed at a Nintendo Direct on Friday and not at Gamescom on Thursday, which will... Oh, God, that's a great question. Do you guys think... So please, everybody answer this. Do we think that a Nintendo Direct is bigger than Gamescom? This is an honest question. I want you guys to answer me. We can make that the evoker for this episode, because I would be curious. In the grand scheme of things, is a massive convention like a Gamescom and its opening night live video hosted by Jeff Keighley, is that bigger, as big, or not as big as a Nintendo Direct, and why? Arblast says, I feel annoyed that my favorite Persona game other than Royal has a bad anime. Arblast, I hope you're not talking about Persona 4. Tell me you're talking about Trinity Souls. JJC Review says, Persona 5 anime did horror slightly better than the game. I feel like it shows her slightly more, how do I say, violent side. Yeah, that's true. Haru's fine. Haru doesn't get a chance to even start her confidant story, but this anime at least gives us a good shot of her, like... I liked the aspect of them showing off her grandpa more. I actually enjoyed that. That was a bit of a shorter one. Let's see. Khalil says, considering a regular General Direct hasn't been a thing since last September, I say Direct. Yes, that's very true. Direct has a just monumental amount of hype that it's hard to really kind of describe and compare, because even though there have been many Directs, there have been partner Directs, there have been Bakugan many jerk-off Directs, it's like a true, honest-to-goodness Direct has not happened since they announced Tokyo Mirage Sessions. So I don't want to say that Tokyo Mirage Sessions killed Nintendo Directs, but it definitely helped them peak in terms of their maximum hype. Okay, so I guess we might as well start with this, just because we've been talking about Nintendo Directs and Gamescom now. Elephant in the room time. Do I think Persona 5 Scramble is getting announced this week? I absolutely 100% do not have any knowledge already going into this, but I think it makes sense. The problem is it has made sense numerous times already going into it. And as I've told people, at this point, I'm ready for Persona to be announced at a big event or just announced in an email chain to a bunch of people. So it sucks. I wish I had a better answer. I wish I could tease you guys when it's coming quicker, but Atlas is just being so weird. There's no justification that really works for it. I wish that they would kind of be a little more transparent to anybody. It's just such a frustrating thing. If it's not announced this week, it's going to be another case of people then getting mad, or people losing hope, or just being like I just don't think that people in Atlas West understand. The longer they go without saying anything, the amount of people they're disappointing, because all they're looking for is an announcement. People aren't looking for this game to be out next week or even next month. They just want to know it's real. Like, and obviously, yes, we all know it's real and we all know it's happening, but hearing it from the horse's mouth makes such a big difference. That's my general thoughts. Mert says, granted, the reputation of Nintendo Directs have gone downhill lately. That is very true. But before all that, yes, so many people watch them. Killa says, the thing with Gamescom is that they only showed games that have been announced besides Call of Duty. Now, Killa, to be fair, Jeff Keighley says there will be exclusive games, but yes, there will also be games that have been announced. I think Scramble's in this weird case of, like, everyone knows it's coming. Obviously, it's already out in Japan, so it's kind of hard to label Scramble as a world exclusive. The Jeff Keighley trademark, of course. Morris says, Scramble being revealed in a direct would be a blast. Would be the best ad Atlas could ask for. If they could... See, I was going to be like, oh, maybe if they could do it with the demo, but I think it's time for us, at least in the West, to all admit, Atlas West I don't think cares about or has the ability to do demos anymore. They ignored us on Catherine for Switch, they ignored us for 13 Sentinels, and they're probably going to ignore us for Yakuza 7. I don't know if that's an effect of everyone working at home. I don't really super understand it, but hey, that would involve them talking to us about why not, so hard to really say. JJC says they better be a PC port of Scramble. JJC, I personally am telling you this right now, there will be a PC port day and date in the West for Scramble. I promise you. A PC port is coming for Scramble. Koei Tecmo would not do you dirty like that. Derplord says, think about it like this, Spence. If a Direct flops, you'll hear about it for the next few days. If Gamescom flops, you'll maybe hear about it for half the day. That's a great point. If a Nintendo Direct sucks, we're still making fun of Bakugan. Do you guys even remember what the last Gamescom was about? The biggest reveal was that you could pee automatically in Death Stranding. Like, there was universal pee sharing. That was the biggest thing. Now, as a big Death Stranding fan, I thought that was awesome and sold me 100%, but I know for everybody that's probably not the case. Joey says, I've just given up on holding out for a Scramble announcement. I've hoped for it so many times, I don't even bother anymore. Killa, Gamescom is technically going to be an online event for multiple days, but if I'm remembering correctly, it is going to be this Thursday, sometime in the afternoon. It's going to be a video called Opening Night Live, hosted by Jeff Keighley of the Game Awards fame. Let's see. I've tweeted a lot of memes recently. Yes, Thursday, Opening Night Live. Check it out at Gamescom, if you guys are curious. Alright, so let's check back up here. Mirth says, the longer Atlas waits, the more hype will die down and the more potential sales are hurt. Yeah, like a great thing, I've not heard anyone talk about this when it comes to saying, what's the big deal, people can wait. Like, I imported that game. If I don't want to buy the English version, that's understandable because I enjoyed it almost as much as I would in English. And that's a sales lost if it wasn't for the fact that I'm a diehard superfan. So, like, what's stopping the general populace from just importing this game outside of the fact that, obviously, importing is a little bit harder now, but still, it's like, import sales do take a good chunk of money the longer you wait, so why leave that up to chance? Alright, before we wrap this up, if anyone has any other questions, could be about anything, please drop them in the chat now. Making sure I'm not forgetting anything too horrendous. Thank you guys for listening to me ramble about the Persona 5 anime. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Alright, so besides general news and thingy things releasing, the only other bit of news I really wanted to talk about were kind of two pieces of news, but basically kind of crammed into one. Of Persona 4 Golden has had a bit of a sales update since the PC release, and we now have an even more updated list of numbers for the the Vita version of the game. So now we know that Persona 4 Golden on Vita specifically has sold over 1.5 million copies, which is not that surprising if you knew how long of legs this thing had, but it's just kind of another testament of how insane over the last 8 years this game sold. And, I mean, good for them. Game deserves it. I'm still always... I need to finish a playthrough of Golden again this year because I really want to have that conversation on or around the anniversary of Golden this year, when it came out in America at least, of like, okay, like how well has Golden really held up, and is it still at least my personal Vita game? Like, because people always say, like, when it comes to the Vita, it's Golden. Like, Golden's everyone's, like, number one thing. Like, they'll recommend to you Ease, they'll recommend to you Trails, but, like, Golden is always at people's, like, top recommendation. So it'll be interesting to see if, like, that's still the case. Because in my head, I've always thought, no, there's other stuff. Like, even games like, I think, like, Catherine being on the system, I think are almost a better fit in some other aspects. But, like, there are a lot of other RPGs and things I've not really played recently to sort of consider. On top of the fact that it's been so many years since I've played Golden that I just really want to get... I really, really just want to kind of, like, get my teeth into it again, give it another run on Vita, and just kind of be like, okay, is this, like, the definitive Vita game after all of these years? And obviously, remember, there are still Vita games coming out, so technically possible another game could come out. Alright, so, besides the game selling 1.5 million copies on there, Sega and Atlas ended up talking about they will be heavily aggressive when it comes to PC ports in the future. I know why people get excited about this, but I always just, like, it just hurts my head because the general consensus of fans seem to forget that, like, Atlas has said this for, like, 3 years, that they're pursuing other ports, they're pursuing other platforms, like, they want more multi-platform stuff, blah, 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 blah. But their actions haven't shown it, and yes, Persona 4 Golden is their biggest cash cow in terms of its Steam release, but it's one of those things of, like, listen, nut up or shut up. Like, start putting out more multi-platform releases right away, or stop being surprised that they're doing well. Because, like, if they wanted to make a big splash without actually having to do a lot of work, instead of saying we're going to aggressively do more ports, just say, hey guys, Scramble is going to be on PC and Xbox. Nocturne's going to be on PC and Xbox. Like, just say that, and people will be like, okay, they're taking it seriously now. Like, you don't have to just keep dipping into your back catalog. When you start doing this going forward, that acts like a much bigger commitment, as opposed to just saying, hey, when I am bothered to get fucked, I guess I'll throw Persona 3 Portable on Steam and get 500,000. Just my thoughts on the whole thing. Alright. Joey says, if I didn't import a copy a few months ago, I doubt I'd even care that much anymore when it comes to Scramble. Mer says, yes. Did anyone notice how many background characters in the anime were voiced by the main cast? Yes, that was very apparent. Considering the fact that Persona 5, their background cast had just the worst voice actors before, or the worst voice direction, I was fine with that. Does the teacher voice about 9,000% of females on top of Amanda Wynn Lee? Yes, 100%. There's a lot of double dipping going on, but I mean, hey, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. Mer says, I heard Morgana as a background for high schoolers so many times. Very, very true. Derblord says, you think they're going to do a royal animation? This is a great question. Specifically in terms of, I think they should, but I also don't think they have the faith in Persona 5 as a franchise to do that. I think if the Persona 5 anime was better received or more profitable, that would be an easier venture. But even though Royal is such a slam dunk in terms of a series and a story to tell, I don't think that they can, like, just give it to another company like they did with Cloverworks and just be like, oh, cool, yeah, make this good, please. There's a lot of aspects they'd really have to fix, and at least with what Cloverworks showed over the last 28 episodes, I cannot believe that they could do Royal right, even with that story, unfortunately. Joey says, with how much I love Royal's new content, seeing it get the same treatment as Persona 5A would hurt. Yeah, same thing. Like, fans will have no faith going into that, so why even risk it? Khalil, do not worry. Persona 4 Golden is going to come out on other consoles in the future. There's no way it would just be stuck on Steam and Vita forever. In the next 12 months, you will see that game on Switch or PS4/PS5. Mert says, I actually joked about this before, but do you think that they'll port both FES and P3P to PC to try and confuse people into buying both? That is so evil and so believable at the same time. Yes, that you've willed it into existence, Mert. You're practically an executive producer on it already. That is so perfect. I can't believe I never thought of that, actually. Alright, everybody. Well, that is it for this episode. That was about like an hour of me rambling and talking. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for listening to my review. If you guys would like, you can follow the podcast on Twitter at SMT Network. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Torchwood4SP. If you could do me a super, super, super big favor, you can follow the... let's see, you can try to think of how I want to promote this first now. So in the show notes for this podcast, in this video, there are links to iTunes and Spotify. If you use either of those platforms or just have the ability to go into them, subscribe, or leave a review, that would be super, super, super helpful. Just got all the new feeds back up and running, and basically the more people I can get to either subscribe or review, the more people we can have listening to the show, and helps me immensely out. But yeah, besides that, if you guys would like to, please subscribe to the channel just by searching Torchwood4SP, Spencer Presley, or Shin Megami Tensei Network. Link will be in the description below for wherever you're listening to this now, if you're listening to the audio version. But yeah, I'm super close to 1,000. I would love to finally get to 1,000 so I can shut up about that. Besides that, you can join the Facebook group by going to facebook.com/groups/SMT Network. Besides that, I think that is about it. Thank you guys again so much for watching this live or listening to this later on in the night. I am going to be uploading the MP3 of this pretty much right afterwards, so hopefully if someone is listening to this, the recorded version, and it is Tuesday night, kudos to you for being extra dedicated. Speaking of dedicated, thank you all once again for joining me live in the chat. Thank you, Derp. Thank you, Joey. Thank you, Mirth. Thank you, Khalil. Thank you, Killa. Thank you, JJC Reviews. And thank you, R Blast. And if there's anyone I'm forgetting, I apologize, but I always appreciate the interaction. Talking to you guys every week is so much fun. Hopefully next week I should have a special guest on. If not, it'll be the week after that. We have a couple of actually interesting special guests hoping to come on the show soon. If you guys ever have anyone you would like to see on the show, please feel free to suggest to either me on the Discord. Oh yeah, the Discord. If you want to join the Discord and talk to us, that is also a link below, but God knows nobody pimps Discord links by saying them out loud. But yeah, if you guys ever have anyone you'd like to see on the show, or just have any questions or suggestions to me, I'm always super easy to get a hold of. Thank you all again so much for watching. I'll see you later. P3P on something other than Vita sounds really weird. That is so true. Oh my god. Joey, I was listening to Kinda Funny Games Daily, I think, and Blessing was talking about Persona 3 Portable, not knowing what it is or why he should be playing it, and then it was like, oh, I need it on something portable. And it's like, just play it on the PSP or the Vita. Like, what do you mean you need it on something portable? And it's like, it's just like, those people out there who by some miracle do exist that are just like, I only want to play stuff on the Switch. All other portable options are not viable to me. It just hurts my mind for so many dumb reasons. But I'm glad for the most part the community is not like that. Oh my god, yeah, kill it. If P5S gets announced, there is going to be an emergency live stream press conference extravaganza. Like, I won't sleep for 24 hours of hype. Like, yeah, don't worry. As soon as Scramble is announced, I'm legally obligated to get up, take all of my clothes off, and notify the whole world about this national treasure coming to the West. Yeah, do not worry. JJC, let's see, said, they'll have time to remaster FES and not put portable on Steam because PSP is a way easier thing to emulate. That is very true, but why not bring over a different version if you can't make another easy couple of bucks? Yes, a scramble party. Very, very true. All right, everybody. I'm off to do my own scramble party, which is called editing the audio version of this show. But thank you again so much for watching live. I will see you all next week, if not earlier, for a video that hopefully can get done sooner than the scramble, than the animation party. See you guys.